Alright guys, in this next video we're going to jump into playing the guitar. And this is really just going to be a quick overview of some of the basic elements of playing guitar, but hopefully it'll be something that can get you started. And again, there are a number of great resources out there, specifically on YouTube. If you just look up guitar lesson or beginning guitar lesson, or if you're further along, intermediate or expert guitar lesson, you're going to find some really great resources out there that can go far beyond what we'll cover right now. But I wanted to start out, before we zoom the camera in and get closer to what my left hand is doing here, I want to just talk a little bit about the basics of strumming. And there are basically two ways that you can strike the strings here, and one of them is finger picking, and we won't really get too much into finger picking, but it's a way to just pluck a single string at a time, and there are different patterns that you can follow along with, but in general you can even come up with your own pattern that you like, and it's kind of a way to play individual strings one at a time. But what I want to talk about today is using a guitar pick, and you'll hold it between your pointer finger and your thumb fairly loosely. You don't really want to have a death grip on it. You really want to just kind of hold it loosely so it can kind of flex a little bit as you press it against the strings. So as we are writing our song and we're figuring out sort of the tempo and feel that we're going for, the most common way to strum is sort of your hand goes down for every downbeat of the song. So if the tempo is 1, 2, 3, 4, you would go down 2, 3, 4, and you can basically develop any syncopation or rhythm that you find helpful that goes along with your song. You can hit the strings on the downbeats, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can actually catch it on the upbeats as well. So that's where you get a little bit more of the rhythmic strumming, where it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you can actually just withhold the pick from the strings on certain downbeats or upbeats, and you can so that's just one example of strumming. But in general, you want your right hand to be going along with the beat of the song at all times, so you're not having to really think about what your hand is doing as much as figuring out what you're singing or the melody that you're working on. And the other way that's a common way to use a pick with a guitar when it comes to writing songs is just, instead of the upbeats being upstrokes, every eighth note is a downstroke. So you can even use the palm of your hand against the strings to kind of mute some of the strings. And that's kind of referred to as chunking when you're playing the guitar. It's just kind of this muted sound. But that can kind of help if it's a quieter part of the song, instead of always having to do. It's a way to bring the dynamics down. So those are just some of the basics of playing a guitar and the strumming patterns that you can use. So we'll zoom in here and look a little bit more at, even before you start strumming, tuning the guitar and making sure it's not out of tune and distracting for your song. Alright guys, the first thing I want to show you when it comes to tuning is the common electronic digital tuner here that we have. This is one from Logic 10. It's basically a tool to show you when you're either below or above a certain pitch, flat or sharp. And the first thing I want to do is play a low E, and as we can see, if I don't talk while I play, the note is sharp. So what I want to do is move the tuning peg, the top of the tuning peg, toward me. If it's flat, we want to move the top tuning peg away. But if it's sharp, we want to move it toward us to loosen the string a little bit. So let me pluck it again, and I'll move the tuning peg as I'm playing it. And most of these tuners will turn green as they get within an acceptable range. So there's the E. Now I'll play the A string. Again, sharp. That's pretty close there. So you'll see as I went flat, I moved the tuning peg too far toward me, and it loosened the string too much. So here's the D string, sharp again. Here's the G string. That's in tune. B string. And then the high E string. All right, and there we go. So, sounds good. So, that's basically what an electronic tuner is. And in the next segment, I'll show you how to tune it without even having a tuner handy. Now, if you don't have a tuner around, what I'm going to show you today is just, you may be able to go over to the piano and play an E note on the piano and then play the E note on the guitar and see if the guitar is lower than the piano or higher than the piano, and trying to match it by turning this tuning peg. And the way the strings are strung around these pegs is they go up on the inside and then wrap around. So if we want the note to go, if say the note is flat, this string is flat, we want to turn the peg counterclockwise from, at least on the top, we're looking away from us. So we want to raise the pitch of the note, we'll pluck it, and we'll hear the note raise in pitch. So, but we're not needing to change it right now. But so what I'm going to show you is an easy way to, if you don't have a tuner around or a piano to reference around, one thing that you can do is just say, okay, this low note is going to be the note that we're going to tune all the other strings to. We just want to make sure that this guitar is in tune with itself, basically. So we'll play this low E string, and then we'll go to this 5th fret. You'll see most guitars, I don't know if you can see this, most guitars have a series of dots that go up along the side of the guitar, and also some of them have dots on the actual neck of the guitar. But we're going to go to the 5th fret, which is a lot of times the 2nd dot up the neck. And the way you can see where the 5th fret is, you can just count these pieces of metal sticking up on the neck are frets. And what we want to do is count up to the 5th one and put our finger right in between and closer to this metal ridge, closer to the one that's towards the main body of the guitar. And we'll pluck the note. So on the 5th fret, on the low E string, if we pluck that note, it's going to be the same pitch as the string above it, the A string. So if we pluck this, and then we pluck the A string, it's the same pitch. And so this is a way to figure out if the A string is in fact in tune with the E string. And those sound close enough, so we'll keep it for now. And we'll press on the A string on the 5th fret to play a D. Now D is the next string up. So have D being played on the A string and then on the D string. So those seem in tune. And again, if it's out of tune, you'll want to adjust not the one that your finger is on, but the string that you're referencing against the one you're playing on the 5th fret. So we'll go to the D string, and we're going to play a G by pressing on the 5th fret of the D string. And then we'll play the actual G string. And those seem close enough as well. Now this is the only string that is different when it comes to doing this tuning against tuning the guitar against itself. Basically, you'll, instead of the 5th fret on this G string, you'll play the 4th fret, because the next interval up, the next string is not a 4th like all of the other ones, but it's actually a major 3rd. So we'll play the 4th fret on the G string against the open B string, which is the second to highest string. So those sound close enough. Not perfect, but close enough. And then we'll go back to the 5th fret and play the 5th fret on the B string against the open E string. Now those sound close. So what we've done is we've tested all of the strings against the other strings, and we can hear that it's pretty much in tune. So when we play a chord, here's one of the first chords I'll teach you in the next segment of the video. It's a G chord. So that sounds good. That sounds in tune. So that's one way to tune the guitar without having a actual tuner nearby or an app necessarily accessible to you. So it's a way to make sure that you can have a guitar in tune without any other tools around.